Schneider. I attended the Illinois Institute of Art, AI, in Schaumburg, Illinois, between the years of 2007 to 2010. When I was in high school, I was in the National Arts Honor Society. I made really good grades and even took classes in summer school so that I could finish my required coursework ahead of time in order to take as many art classes as I could for my senior year. I graduated as the most accomplished senior artist during 2004 school year. I applied and was accepted at a prestige art school in Chicago, but due to my family's circumstances, I decided to get a job and move out and live on my own instead of attending college right after graduation. I began working in the MIS department of a leading Midwest courier company where I had paid vacations and paid holidays, as well as the option for medical through their carrier. I was only making $10.50 an hour after a few years, and the raises were normally only 25 cents an hour once per year. Due to my desire to better my position in life and to create a career for myself instead of a dead-end job with no opportunity for advancement, I decided to look once more into attending college. I wanted to work while I was in school and retain my current position, so I looked into local schools. One of the first schools I looked into was the Illinois Institute of Art. I already knew that Columbia was expensive, and my job was in the suburbs along with my apartment, so I thought it would make sense to check out the closest art school to make things easier on myself. They never asked for a portfolio, but were encouraged by my love of art. That should have been the first red flag. They had no idea if I had an ounce of talent to back up an application. I was also shown falsified job placement rates, which greatly influenced my decision to attend. These placement rates showed that the entire school had over 90% placement rates for all students who graduated. This really made it seem like the money I was paying for would pay off and be well worth it. I was also told that with my background and passion, I could expect to make $60,000 a year. I was shown the faculties and told that graduates would have access to the studios as well as equipment after graduation because they had a great alumni connection for former students. I was also told that they had many contacts already in the industry who provided internships to their students, which was a requirement for successful completion of the program. I was told that my education would be equivalent to what Columbia's curriculum entailed. I told them I wanted to work in a magazine like Rolling Stones because music was another passion of mine and I would love to be a rock photographer. I was assured that this was a possibility. The admissions representative also told me that since the school is very close to my home, I would be able to save on housing costs, which she stated on average ran around $60,000 for the duration of the average American education. That was also another huge selling point. I thought I would be saving money. I would be getting an amazing education, that I would have a very high chance of successful job placement if I worked hard. The admissions representative were extremely high pressure and played a lot to my insecurities. I was the first to attend college in my family, and she asked if I wanted to remain in a low-wage, dead-end job forever. Her tactics worked, and we began the admissions process. Much of the financial information was sped through. They told me that I qualified for grants and that my mother could take out a Parent Plus loan since my income was too low to qualify for many of the loans. We never received any sort of education about the loans, and we never received counsel about the way the loans would compound after graduation. My mother and I did not even realize that we were taking out multiple loans with high interest rates because they never explained that there were caps to those loan amounts. Once enrolled, the loans were, again, quickly signed without explanation. They would pull you out of class already in session and have you come down to a window next to the student's door, bring you a piece of paper to authorize your loans to be transferred to the institution without actually explaining that some of these were new loans. Once enrolled, I started to realize how bad the decision was. I quickly learned that alumni did not actually have access to the studios post-graduation, and we were also not permitted to rent equipment after graduation either. We had to take almost a year and a half of fundamental courses before even starting the classes within our major. Once you get to that point, however, you realize how far you are in and how hard it is to get out. The credits from AI do not transfer to most schools. They have a different accreditation, but fail to mention that during admissions. I also learned how oversaturated not only our department but the industry was, and realized my job prospects were not as great as I was led to believe. I was also unable to transfer out of the school and go to Columbia once I realized AI was not a real school, because the credits did not transfer. There were a wealth of issues within the photography department. First and foremost, we had rarely been able to get into the studio for projects or even classes because they enrolled too many students for an adequate amount of facilities. The same issue occurred within the equipment cage, where we rented equipment from. The cameras were always booked out, and where the lens and photo-specific lighting, I frequently had to use static lighting for film in place of photographic lighting, which contributed to me having low knowledge of correct photo light equipment. Okay, we're going to wrap it up. Let me get to the last paragraph. Thank you. 1 second. So she hasn't found work. She hasn't been able to work in her field. She is still strapped with a lot of debt. There's a ton of documented evidence that implicates a huge fraud scheme. There's more than enough evidence to implicate entire programs in schools run by EDMC. We deserve class-wide cancellation of our loans. It is unacceptable to expect students to individually file for cancellation when they've been defrauded. Some students will not even realize they are eligible for cancellation, which is a travesty when you consider the fact that their lives are being held back by insurmountable student loan debt. I feel this is a way to avoid paying for the damage that has been inflicted. Cancellations for an entire group of students is needed, and it's the only answer. Thank you.